It's Wednesday, November 27th, 2024. Let's take a look at the headlines making waves in the Nigerian dailies of today. Let's begin with the Punch. The border headline says, alleged 110 billion naira fraud. Bello due in court today, ex-governor reports to EFCC. Kenton's page 2 of the paper to get the complete story. And beside the nameplate on interest rate hike, Labour OPS projects higher inflation, weaker naira. The full story is found on page 19 of the paper. Beside the picture on page 2, PDP NEC pro-Wike governors set for showdown over Damagum. And below that, on Forex platform, CBN sets $100,000 minimum trade for banks. The full story is found on page 21 of the paper. Below the picture on Port Harcourt refinery, 200 trucks load daily, 150,000 barrel per day LMA plant, dormant. Kenton's page 24 of the paper to get the complete story. And below that on page 7, 4,449 policemen sue IG over delayed promotion, hunted and executed. Suspended Sanwo-Olu aides Cummins stir probe call. Kenton's page 4 and 5 to get the complete story. And beside that, on unpaid pensions, retirees set to occupy finance ministry. The full story is found on page 7 of the Punch. Away from that, let's take a look at Daily Trust, where the border headline says, petrol price may drop as Port Harcourt refinery resumes operation. The full story is found on page 4 of the paper. And below the nameplate, Jonathan says lack of unity Nigeria's greatest problem, and Nigeria needs more taxpayers, not new taxes, says FIRS boss. Beside that, on 80 billion naira fraud, EFCC detains Yahaya Bello to arraign him. And below the picture, terrorist logistics suppliers frustrate in counter-insurgency war. Nigeria loses $1.1 billion to malaria annually, says federal government. Kenton's page 5 to get the complete story. And beside that, on page 14, 5 people returning from burial die in boat mishap. And CBN hikes interest rate to 27.5%. The full story is found on page 16 of the paper. Let's take a look at The Guardian, where the border headline says, cautious optimism over cheaper fuel as Port Harcourt refinery creates rivalry. Kenton's page 6 of the paper to get the complete story. And below that, EFCC, Bello's men defer as anti-graft agency detains ex-governor. Kenton's page 3 of the paper to get the complete story. And below that on page 3, Edun urges states to monetize assets to drive investment and revenue. On page 3 also, Tinubu departs Abuja on state visit to France. And amid soaring food prices, Aiyedatiwa backs Tinubu's economic policies. The full story is found on the news page 6 of The Guardian. Below that, private sector groans as CBN raises interest rate to 27.5%. Kenton to the business page 15 to get the complete story. And still on page 15, banks lose 53.4 billion naira to fraud in 9 months as a tax rise by 65%. Let's take a look at Vanguard. The border headline says, local fuel capacity now 860,000 barrel per day as Port Harcourt refinery rebounds. Kenton's page 5 to get the complete story. And beside the picture, Tinubu says, let's join hands to make Nigeria a producing nation. Kenton's page 11 to get the complete story. And below that on page 4, GDP jobs growth at variance with reality, says Necker and COP. Below the picture, prices of local rice, beans, bread, eggs soar in October, says MBS. Kenton's page 8 to get the complete story. To wrap up is the Nigerian Tribune, where the border headline says, with Port Harcourt refinery's revival, Tinubu sets Warri Kaduna plant targets for NNPC. Kenton's page 3 to get the complete story. And beside the picture, CBN raises interest rate to 25.50%. The full story is found on page 12 of the paper. Above the nameplate on page 4, second year in office, Obasanjo commissions road in Osun commenced at Adeleke. And Nigeria loses $1.1 billion annually to malaria crisis. Kenton's page 14 to get the complete story. Beside that, on page 3, Yahaya Bello, now in EFCC custody, may appear in court today. Beside the picture on page 12, MBS reports on 3.46% GDP growth, decline in unemployment not true reflection of current realities, Nasima insists. An FCTA's list of CFO defaulters on pages 18 to 137 of the paper. And that's the headlines making waves to the Nigerian dailies of today. If any of these headlines caught your attention, do well to get a copy of the paper and read the full story on the identified pages.
Get credible and authentic housing news at your fingertips by downloading the Housing TV mobile app. You can also join the African International Housing Show live from across the globe through the Housing TV mobile app. The mobile app features live streaming and trending housing news. You can locate the AIHS venue via the app, network with AIHS seasoned speakers, and live chat with exhibitors. You can also order house or building materials at AIHS via this app. Download the Housing TV mobile app now from the App Store and Google Play Store. And don't forget to click on the notification button. Available for both iOS and Android users. Housing TV is also on Star Times, channel 149 decoder.